Hey guys, I can't believe February is already over, but we are going to be doing a February reading recap. I read 15 books in February and I got a lot of really great books and a lot of not so great books. I was also really slumpy, I feel like. So I didn't read a lot of physical books. I mainly did audio books, but without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, the first book I read was on NetGalley, but I read it on my Kobo, and that is Buyer Beware by Ryan Catherine Howard. This was a 3-star for me. It was okay. There was moments where I was very thrilled. I was like, this is great, I'm flying through this. And then there were some moments that moved a little bit slower for me, especially in a thriller. I don't want that. I want something fast-paced. So that was a 3-star. Speaking of slow-paced thrillers, we have The Intruder by Frida McFadden. This was very slow-paced, and also it was very textbook Frida McFadden. I feel like there's some of her books that really wow me because they differ from her pattern, but then there's some that are just very following the pattern and they're very predictable. This one, very Frida McFadden-y. Like, I was reading it and I was like, oh, it's gonna go this way because that's what she usually does with her books, and then it ended up going that way. And so it didn't wow me. I wasn't that invested. I gave this a 2 stars, which is one of the lower ratings that I've given Frida books. I think the worst one that I've given was 1 star. But yeah, this was just not my favorite. I wasn't enthused by it. Then I listened to Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This was a 5 stars. As far as romance books goes, this one just felt like a hug. Like, it was just warm and happy from start to finish. I loved it. I was so invested in the characters. I just thought that all of the characters were so lovable and great, and I really enjoyed reading about them. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I listened to Heart the Lover by Lily King. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I had it on my 26 books to read in 2026. I had heard amazing things from so many bookish content creators, and I just didn't like it. I gave it a 2 stars. For me, just all of the characters were insufferable. I didn't see redeemable qualities in any of them. The story itself was boring. Everyone was so pretentious. Like, it was supposed to be this sad arc, but because I didn't care about any of the characters, I didn't feel sad. So this one was a no for me. I had heard such good things and it was such a letdown. So I gave it 2 stars. Okay, then I went back to my Kobo and I read Beartown by Frederick Bachman, my first Frederick Bachman book. This book was perfect. I gave it a 5 stars. I was so invested. I loved the writing style. Like, it was so unique and so special, and it was emotional. I loved how there were so many characters, but like, it made sense when the point of view switched, and it was just, I just loved it. I can't wait to continue the series and read more of Frederick Bachman because I was just so impressed. This was so good. Everyone go read this book. It is literal perfection. Okay, then I read Hickory Dickory Dock by Agatha Christie. I got this from the library, so I don't have my copy with me anymore, but I gave this a 3.5. I liked that there was kind of 2 crimes that were being solved. I do like when Agatha Christie does that, when there's like a murder, but then there's also something else. I don't know. I just feel like this one was very low action for me. There wasn't a lot really going on, which, like I said, I don't like that in mystery thrillers. So this was a 3.5. I think it could potentially be bumped up if I keep, thinking about it. But for right now, I'm giving it a 3.5 to just kind of sit with that. Another letdown, The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I loved The Will of the Many. I was obsessed with that book, and I couldn't wait to read the second book, and this one was such a letdown. This book moved at a snail's pace. If it's a fantasy book that's like 500 plus pages, it should not move slowly, and this book moved so slow. It took so long to get to the actual central plot of the story. I was just done by that point. And also, not to mention, they added so much stuff that just made it so confusing. I feel like they didn't really explain it that well, and I was just kind of lost and bored. So I gave this 2 stars. I'm probably still going to continue the series, but I didn't like this one as much, and I'm really frustrated by that. I did a reread. My reread for the month was The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I read this on Valentine's Day because it takes place on Valentine's Day. This is such a cute book. I gave it a 4 stars. It doesn't give me the 5-star feeling, but it's such a good book. It's got good banter. It's got a good premise. It's a classic Lynn Painter book that I just love. And I definitely want to read it again on a Valentine's Day. I think it's just fun to read it on Valentine's Day. But this was a good palate cleanser after some rough ratings. So I'm happy that I read this. Speaking of rough ratings, we have my biggest op of the month, 1-star romance. This book is aptly named because I gave it 1 star. I don't often give romance books 1 star because it's one of my favorite genres. This book, the thing that was bad about it, I will never critique the author for their writing because, I mean, it's a romance book, it had good writing, but Natalie, the worst character I've ever read about in my life, had no redeemable qualities. I hated her from the first chapter. She was awful. I cared more about her friends and her friend storyline. She was insufferable and selfish, and she made the whole world about her. Her actions were not redeemable. I don't think she should have deserved happiness in the end. And also, her relationship with Rob made no sense. Like, I feel like it just came out of nowhere and it was very sudden, and they didn't really have a lot of chemistry, especially since they don't really get together until like at the very end of the book. It didn't make sense to me. I hate this book. I cannot wait to unhaul it. This was horrible. Then I did another Agatha Christie audiobook. I did The Seven Dials Mystery because there is a Netflix movie coming out, so I wanted to read it. I think it's Netflix. It's another streaming service. But I actually really liked this. I liked the concept of like a secret society. I thought that was really cool, and the mystery itself was fascinating, and this one was a lot more action-packed than Hickory Dickory Dock. A solid 4 stars for me. I was thoroughly impressed. Then I read Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden. I listened to the audiobook of this. This is what I want in a Frida McFadden book. I want a book that tests the odds of all of her other books. Like, it's so different from all of her other books. If you put all of her books in a line, you can pick out which ones are different from another. Dear Debbie is an example of that. I gave this a 5 stars. I was invested from start to finish. It's one of those books where you start out and you're like, something is off, something feels weird, something is icky. And then, like, as information is revealed, you're like, oh my god, what is going to happen? And you know everything, but you're still invested. And then just this full left field twist just comes, and you never saw it coming. It was so good. This is the first time that I haven't guessed a major plot twist in a Frida McFadden book in a long time. I feel like I can guess her twists pretty well because I've read so many of her books, but this one truly came out of left field. There was like a little part of it that I kind of guessed, but then it's revealed later, so I was like, okay, this is not a twist. This was just something that the readers were supposed to know. But literally so good. I'm obsessed. I already want to read it again. Then I picked up The L by Theodore C. Van Alst Jr. I picked this up solely for the title and cover because this is gorgeous, and I want to live in Chicago post-grad, so I was like, it's a book about Chicago. I liked the writing style, and I liked how each character had a very distinctive voice, but I just think that the story wasn't for me. The story was about gang violence, and it was following different gang members. And I liked how each gang member had a very distinctive voice and you could kind of tell who was narrating, but I just wasn't super invested in this story. So as much as it pains me, I gave this a 2.5 stars just because the story itself wasn't super enticing to me. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about today, I'm actually still currently reading. There's a couple days left in February for me to finish this book up, but that is The Odyssey by Homer. So I read the Iliad last month and was not a fan. This already 10 times better. I feel like this one actually has like a story that's a bit easier to follow and a story that I'm more invested in. So right now I'm leaning towards like a 3.5 stars for this one, but if you want my full review, you'll just have to go to my Instagram and see my full wrap up with full reviews there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out my social medias in the description box below, where I post so much more bookish content. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!